Being homosocial, vibing, and Keke Palmer. What do they all have in common? Well, they have in common that we're going to talk about them on this episode of The Vibe. Hi, my name is Stephanie D. McKenzie. I'm one of the hosts, and I love to welcome you to our show with my fellow co-hosts, Jada and Amanda. We are actually
Hey,
down two chairs this week, and we want to just send much love to Shara as well as Rail, who aren't here with us this week, but they'll be back. So don't start any rumors, y'all. Speaking of rumors, I heard something, Amanda. I heard that you got something on your mind, and I really believe that you really need to let it off.
I do need to let it off, Steph, because there's this phenomenon, right? So like if you're in a relationship, ladies, with a man and you see the man sitting on the couch, the man gets a phone call and it's one of his homeboys, and all of a sudden he's got all the hottest tea, he's kikiing all over the phone, giggling like a schoolgirl. But then when he gets off the phone and you try to have a conversation with him and he wants no parts of it, the man doesn't like you. And see, he might like sleeping with you, but he does not like socializing with you. And therefore, we have this new term that's come about called homosocial. So if that describes your man, just know that he's a homosocial. He's definitely a heterosexual because he wants to hunch all over you, lady, but he doesn't want to hang out with you. He don't like you. He's a homosocial. So that's what's been on my mind. And there you have it.
I just
Sorry,
need
I'm
Jada's
taking
love
y'all
reaction.
completely
It's
out.
giving me everything I need. It's giving me everything I need. And go.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
I
God.
thought I heard it all,
Well,
man. I really
I'm just
did.
saying,
Oh my God.
Wow.
they
Oh my
about to
God.
turn me into one because check the shirt.
Listen, it is what it is.
Oh my
If you're
gosh.
homosocial, are you a knitter?
Yeah, definitely a knitter.
Oh
I'm
my
making
gosh.
A dirty,
What
filthy,
in the
stinky, slimy
world?
knitter. But
So this
I
is
mean, have you
this
all
is
experienced this? I'm curious. Have you either experienced it or observed this? I can't be the only one, lady.
I okay. So I have not experienced this firsthand. Okay. I have seen it, however, though. Actually, you know what? No, that's not true. I did experience this in college, but my thing with it was I was almost certain that this man just wasn't straight, and he just didn't have the courage to come out and say it. But it was like there was like this noticeable difference. So like he's like same thing. Like he wanted to hunt, like he wanted to get it in. But when you saw how he was with women versus how he was with the guys, whole
Just saying, it's
personality that you
giving.
did not know existed. I could not. But for me, I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna assume, that he's in the closet, and pray for him, hope he got out. But for me, I was never interested in him beyond friendship. And when
Mhm.
he realized I wasn't interested in him like that, because he made his attempts, but I was like, no, I'm good. And so he moved around to some other people somebody else that I know. And I was like, girl, he's not it. Like he's like really
Mm.
not it. And it's a whole thing. It actually ended up like really like impacting our friendship, down the
Oh.
line because she messed with him. But for me, I was like, I really want you to want more for yourself, because I'm telling you
Mhm.
firsthand experience, this is who he is. And he was also like not nice. So I don't know if like the
Mm.
whole homosocial thing, if that's a part of it too, but he was not nice to her. Like he was like,
Ooh.
you have the guys that like make the jokes and stuff, and it's nothing wrong with having playful banter and having jokes with your partner. However, the stuff that he would say and like feel comfortable like talking about, especially like when it would come to like bodies and like her body type and like shape and stuff like that. I was like, oh, like what do you what is the appeal? Like what do you see in him?
Mm.
So I didn't like that either. Like I really didn't like how he would act funny, like especially when it came to them like going out in public, and like he just wasn't like, I was like, what is it? Like what are you getting from this relationship? Because it's not even a real relationship. So there was like a whole bunch of other factors as well that played into it. And so if women who are with these homosocial men are also
Mm.
in that, like, girl, get out, run quickly, because that is not, no one deserves that. Like why would he be kikiing it up and just having a grand old time with the guys, but then when it comes to you, he treating you like you just something to smash, and then I after
Mm.
no use for you, like that don't, mm-mm,
See,
that
that
don't.
got dark real fast. And, I think the challenge that I see is that it's been called out on numerous occasions that there are men who actually don't like women.
Mm,
And, when Amanda first said the homosocial thing, I was like, oh, we got to talk about that, because could it be symptomatic of, oh yeah, they're just more comfortable, with their boys, yeah. But then it's kind of like what you're bringing up. The guy wasn't nice to her. The guy wasn't caring. The guy was mean. And earlier today, I was walking through the house and I was thinking about men who don't like women and what that really looks like and why that is the case, because I think we're seeing a lot of that. And it is unfortunate for the women that deal with them, because I think that's when they start to say things like, oh, he's an alpha, and he's a man's man, and you put all of these like contrived labels on it, when at the end of the day, the truth is they don't like women for whatever reason. They could have been enmeshed with their mom. They could have been parentified. There could be so many reasons, but the reason is not the excuse, and it doesn't absolve them from being a caring human being. And so, yeah, there's a lot happening here, because I think a lot of women have been gaslit to believe, oh well, he's just a man's man, oh, again, all these contrived labels that end with, but by the way, he doesn't like females, and really all he likes is your holes.
Basically, that's the point I was getting at, Steph.
Mm.
yeah, you
And
just
I
become an
think that
object.
they only they like women to the extent that a woman is useful either to his image or to
Ugh.
perform free labor for him. And I really think that this is a function and a symptom of the patriarchy. Honestly, they're socialized to be that way.
Mhm.
And in a lot of ways, they're just socialized to be like, to look at women like that. Like women aren't people, they're objectified. And so they see their boys as more human than they see the women around them. So
Mm.
they can laugh and joke and be playful with their guy friends, but when it comes to the women, it's like they malfunction. They don't know how to, you know what I mean? They start to the
Mm.
smoke starts coming out of their ears and stuff. Like they don't know what to do with that. So it's like
Ooh.
we're not supposed to have this dynamic. Like, and then there's
No.
the thing about your boys will pick on you if you have a good relationship with your woman. The guys will
I've
pick
seen
on them.
that.
Oh,
I've
your
seen
woman
that.
got you whooped, or you henpecked, or whatever stuff they say, right? God forbid you prioritize your woman or have fun with your woman, genuinely enjoy spending time with your woman. Now you're going to be ostracized by the other men. So the men kind of uphold this structure themselves, amongst themselves. But ladies, I'm just sharing what I've learned. We now have a term for this dynamic, and it is called homosocial. So you could tell that man that it's giving homo social. Okay.
Mm.
Uh,
Let them know. Let them
Listen,
know.
period. clock
Yeah,
it.
like
Wow.
I feel like, and that's the part that's the weirdest about it to me is that I
Mhm.
feel like the dynamic of a man and his woman really is like that's who you really be laid up kikiing with, gossiping and like, telling all the things
Facts.
that you don't really want to tell your homeboy. So to
Facts.
hear that that's the opposite, what do you mean? Like I just
Yeah.
can't fathom entertaining a relationship with somebody like that. Like I said, I've seen it. I wasn't interested because I was like, no, actually, I'm good.
Mm.
But that, like, I've just never had that type of experience where you feel so much more comfortable talking to and just being yourself around the guys. Like I understand there being different aspects, different conversations that you talk about.
Right.
You may a different side of you may come out, but you just don't even feel you don't open up to me at all. Like you don't want to talk to me at all. Like that part just I can't compute that. Like that math just don't add up.
Mm.
That's
I think
alarming.
right. And I think one of the most concerning parts is that, there was this thing this idea that I came up with a long time ago that the way the friends of somebody you're in relationship with, be it friendship or whatever, treat you tells you a lot about how that person feels about you. Now, some people just have funky friends and they act weird. But if you're with a man and his guy friends don't treat you a particular way, they don't seem to honor you. Like I will never forget the guy I was dating in college, and he had a friend that actually wanted to hook him up with another girl. And I actually, we were all hanging out the house, and this individual came into my home, and I was like, get out, get out. And this is in my 20s, right? And so, yeah, but then you think about it, hindsight being 2020, why would he have thought that was okay? Why would he think that's okay? Because I've had girlfriends that may have been going through something with a boyfriend, and I might have said something in jest like, hey, girl, let me know when you're ready to move on. But I'm not immediately just lining up new booze, just like, oh, here you go. Yada yada yada. I don't want to be that person. But like you said, if hunching is the goal, people, if all you value is the holes, then not only should you see somebody about that, but you might need to just really deeply investigate um your own story, your own belief system about who you think you are. And I'll leave it there. But speaking of holes, y'all, but speaking of holes, I found something this week, y'all. And I think it's been going on a while, but I found it in my social media feed, and we need to talk about it because this also is not okay, right? In fact, this is a problem because I witnessed in my feed a woman who engages in the act of, I think it was called vabbing, where she believes she's releasing her pheromones by extracting the juices from her lady parts and then dabbing said juices onto her body parts. First of all,
You
have y'all
mean
ever
like a
heard of this?
perfume? You mean
Yeah,
like a fragrance?
it is a fragrance. Yes.
I bet it
It
is.
has a scent.
That can't be sanitary
I don't think it
or
is because
healthy.
I think the story went on to say that she has developed either an infection or sores or something, and I personally believe it's from the friction of constantly digging your hands into your lady parts. Because, ma'am, you're not supposed to be doing this all the time. But additionally, are your hands? I do know it's self cleaning, but are your hands clean?
And do you
You
have
I
can't just
nails?
be
She
in
might be
there.
making scratches and stuff in there.
Correct. Correct.
Oh,
my
So
biggest
the smell
question
is
is
not
how
beautiful.
where did her
how much is
family
she digging in
interview?
there?
I mean, she was on My Strange Addiction. So that lends
So,
itself to,
so too
it's
much.
not a one time. She,
I just feel like per day it has to just be an incredible amount for there to be
yes,
friction and
multiple
sores.
times. So let's look it up, y'all. multiple times a day.
And like I just like why not at least be gentle if you're going up in there? Like, you know, like
Mm-mm. Mm. Mm-mm. She said, "Be gentle."
Well, yeah. I mean that,
admit,
and like
like
consider not doing it. How about like they sell fragrance, and they sell fragrance with pheromones in it.
they do sell
I
pheromones.
mean, who she thinks she is? She thinks she Badu or somebody?
Wait, I'm gonna put my hand up. Y'all call on me.
Go ahead,
Yes,
Steph.
Stephanie.
The article says that she repeats this practice up to 50 times a day.
I
I want
told
to
you.
log off.
I
I
told
wanna
you
log
it had
off.
to be. It had the number had to be wild
It
because
had
for
to
there
be
to be
insane.
sores.
Like, what are you doing? Oh, and
What
she didn't lie. Let's see. Hold on. She thought that it would affect human attraction. She wanted to find a date. Um,
With
oh,
what?
wait, y'all, you're not ready for this. The update to the story is that she lied to get on TV. Of all the things you could lie about, you lied about digging in your lady parts.
I
Stop.
think she just got
Just full
embarrassed. She
stop.
wasn't lying. She wasn't
Stop.
lying. She got embarrassed after that. Ain't
That
no
part.
way.
Like, please stop, ma'am. Please stop. There's a lot
like
of
she
things you
made
could lie
to
about.
get on TV?
Yes.
Mm-mm.
That's what she's saying. I made it up to get on TV. Well, babe, you were on it.
You should have just doubled down at this point. There is just no
Yeah.
good reason for you to even go with that story and make that up.
I mean, you couldn't just launch a YouTube channel. You want to be on TV?
You have sores in your pocketbook. And that was the lie you wanted to tell. I just
Right.
don't. I feel like okay. This is like gonna be like a little moment of truth. Okay, it might be a slight TMI, but I feel like this is gonna add to the conversation. So I like the way that she smells after I work out. I feel like it just smells great. And like the natural scent, like I enjoy the way that it smells. So I understand like liking that and even feeling like I felt powerful. Like, you know, but I wasn't, digging up in there and like, dabbing it around, but you work out, smells happen. And so whenever I would smell it post workout, I would be like, dang, like, okay, girl. All right, like that. But I never felt like it was something that I needed to like disperse around my body. Like, I don't know. And so I feel like it's just very interesting for it to go from I enjoy the way like that my body naturally smells to let me now use this to attract a man. Like it felt good to me to enjoy. Like I just felt like, yeah. Like, all right, girl, like that. So
And
I
think it should be a
understand like
privilege
the
for the
attraction
man.
to it. Yes.
He shouldn't get that privilege up front.
Right. You're welcome. You should be honored. Like that's
Right.
just putting it out there for everybody. I just can't.
And
like,
it must not even be that because, like I said, she's trying to get a date with what? Because what in the world?
But did anybody ever comment on it? Anybody ever comment on like?
Well, in the footage, there was a guy that she went on a date with, and he didn't seem to be impressed by whatever he was smelling.
Oh, no.
And but before we go there, let me say this. As a woman, I am with you, Jada. There are times when I'm like, yes, and yes, this is beautiful. Yes, it's just fragrant, and I'm a huffer anyway. So I'm like, yes, lady parts, yes. But what she was doing, I'm sure her pH was negative 87, like off the Richter scale. Like I can't even imagine what she had done to her pH. And I'm sure PS pheromones don't work like that. And so it's so many things that are wrong with this. And now you're saying you just lied to get on television. Please stop the madness. Stop it.
Yeah.
But you know what? If she really did lie, where the hell did you get this? What compelled you to make up this lie? This the lie? This the lie you chose.
That's not.
Girl, bye.
Mm-mm. You know what she is, y'all? She's a
Knitter. She's a big old funky knitter.
Heavy, yeah. Chunky knitter.
Oh my
Chunky
God.
sweater
Funky
knitter.
knitter.
Funky
Oh,
knitter. Funky knitter. I'm like, babe, your pH is screaming at a level that only dogs can hear. Like, stop. like, speaking of dogs. But y'all, like, truthfully, I never even heard of the practice until I saw that. And I understand maybe, wanting a date that said he hadn't had a date in years, and maybe you're desperate for some outcomes or something. But y'all, Dane decided he wants to make a cameo. Hey, y'all.
He got strong thoughts.
Right? I'm sure he wants something, and I'm like, hey, doggies are welcome. If Chanel ever wants to drop in, Snowball, like, yeah, just
She
everybody
was
just
just here,
join in.
actually.
Hey. But I think it bears so much more of a burden, right? Like, we could really look at this if we want to take the comedic side out of it, and the physiological side out. Anyway, we could really look at this as a cry for help. And truthfully, a lot of women, like so many women, are really, if we're honest, they're in the midst of a cry for help, and people aren't listening because they have been deemed the strong one. And I think that that's something that we need to talk about. And I think, Amanda, you actually brought it up in one of our conversations. I would love to get your thoughts on the whole strong one trope that's floating around and has been floating around, especially when it comes to Black women.
Yeah. So, Steph, I saw an article about Black women and us Black women starting to realize a lot sooner the impacts to our physical, emotional, mental health of having to carry the burden of life since a young age, really. And I think in the article, if I'm not mistaken, it said like by the time a Black woman reaches the age of 20, that she's already accumulated the amount of anxiety and stress and overwhelm of a 40-year-old woman. Which one thing I want to say about that is facts. Okay, why? Begs the question: why do we have to go through this? But on the flip side of this, and I'm not saying that this is a silver lining, but baby, when they say you don't look, thank God I don't look like what I've been through, that just makes the whole Black don't crack argument like 10 times more wonderful because, my sisters are beautiful.
Yeah.
And in a lot of times we don't look like what we've been through. And I think that's maybe part of the reason why we get dismissed. So, it's almost like we don't really have, at least for me, I didn't really have the time or the words to really explore or express the ways that I was feeling. And it wasn't until I started going to therapy, like in my late 30s, that I started to really understand not only what had been happening over time to me and in my life, like with all these difficult situations, one after another, and having to carry the weight of the family and just lifing. And having words to express it. I remember my therapist used to ask me, she when we get on a call, she'd say, so how are you feeling? And I'd be like, oh, I feel okay. And she's like, that's not a feeling.
Right.
Like, use your words. And I legit had to, she had to send me the emotion wheel.
Yeah.
So that I learned the words to express how I was feeling. And so, I don't know. I think that emotional, if all the things that we learn in school that we may not use throughout our lives, I think that emotional words, emotional regulation, conflict resolution, like those should be reinforced throughout school, like explicitly taught. And I think it would help us so much to really start um, to understand ourselves. And I think that it needs to be taught to all children so that other people can understand the impacts of their own behaviors on other people as
Yeah.
well.
I
I don't
think
know.
that is
What do you
like,
think,
and
Jacob?
able to facilitate like those situations, because what I feel happens a lot. Well, I have a lot of feelings on this actually, but one of the things that stood out to me with what you said is just like this concept of being able to have moments in like school settings or in just like everyday settings where kids get to experience what it looks like to actually resolve conflicts, or how to talk about how what somebody said or did made them feel at the level that they're at. And I didn't personally have that. Like that wasn't something that I learned. And even now, what I recognize with my son being in school is that those things are only addressed for him because he has an IEP. So he literally has like an individualized education plan. He has something where they actually intentionally work with him on emotional regulation, because that is where one of his disabilities is. But I'm sitting here listening to the stuff that they're doing with him, and I'm like, why isn't this just something that you do across the board? You know what I'm saying? Like, why is
Mm-hmm.
this something that just happens? Like social skills and those being developed, those are things that you just don't get. And then when you think about all of the things that Black girls have to experience on top of just everyday regular life that everybody else can relate to, they get an extra helping of nonsense that you don't even really understand until you are well into adulthood and you realize that you're being impacted by systems that you don't even understand. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't know why, being a dark-skinned girl is something to be made fun of. You don't know why you're the way that your hair is naturally is a problem. You don't know why, teachers look at you instantly as a threat whenever you feel upset, whenever you're feeling in a strong emotion. And so like you have those things that you're experiencing like the symptoms of, but you don't actually realize where it's coming from. And the only thing that you really get to reconcile with, not even reconcile, but the thing that like impacts you most is like you just internalize it. Like that's the way that a lot of us dealt with it. We just took it all in, like, oh, maybe it's me, maybe it's my fault, maybe I need to do this, maybe I need to change this. So like all of these different things, like they're these invisible pressures that we have, like to know that by the time you get to your 20s, you got an adult's worth of stress on your body already. Now, not to mention the stuff that you inherit genetically, like all
Yeah.
of this stuff, like, it's just very interesting how much we are like kept out of, well, we're kept in the
Mm-hmm.
dark on the things that are happening to us that we would like quite literally do not have control over, but is impacting us in very deep ways. And now we get to do the fun part of, figuring it out and unlearning and healing as adults. And it's like, I didn't even ask for this. I didn't do anything to deserve it,
Yeah.
but I still got to deal with
Yep.
it.
Unpacking, and something that you said a minute ago, Jada, like internalizing these things that we should
Mm-hmm.
not be internalizing, but we do because we don't really understand. So we think it's our fault or that we had something to do with it when we didn't. And I think that that's super important because I'm still trying to like not internalize certain things, or like people pleasing behaviors that come out of that, or there's a lot of things that we do to our own detriment because of us not being educated in that way and understanding what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't
I
think,
don't know. I
I
wish they
think what
would.
needs to be addressed is that our parents didn't really know what was going on either. And so a lot of times they were unable to equip us for what we were experiencing because the program that was downloaded into them was just, work hard and get good grades. And when you go to work, keep your head down and come early and stay late. And really what it was is teaching us how to be codependent and seek external validation as a norm. And I've often said that as folk of color, as the melanated ones, at least some of the melanated ones,
Mhm.
we have been not only gaslit, but we have a cultural like proclivity towards codependency simply because of the narrative that's been passed down generations that didn't allow our self-worth to be determined internally. It was derived externally and not on an equitable scale. And so I think there's a whole, I mean, we could almost do a whole show on unpacking that. And I think at some point we probably should and grab a couple of experts and do that. If y'all would like for us to do that, let us know in the comments. But on a high note, right? Um, we got to do a few little call outs. And I think we want to start out our first call out for good reasons. Usually we do call outs for bad things, but I think this call out is with good reason. And I'm just going to toss it over to Jada and let her do it.
Y'all, so my call out is for Keke Palmer. And I first of all, I have to just say that I have been doing a deep dive on Keke Palmer's brand for really like years now at this point. I can't even imagine that. But right now, what I want to call out is the fact that she has come out and said that she lives with her two sisters and their children. So all of them live together. It's like communally. All the aunties and the cousins get to grow up together in a household. And it's become this like big talking point lately, which I find interesting because I actually live with my family. So it's my parents here, my sisters here. It was my brothers at one point, but they've gone and did their own thing. My son is here, and it has been the best environment to raise my son in because, his father in and out, he's there. Sometimes he's not. I'm not going to get into that. That's a whole other conversation. But the point is that he's never gone without having like that family structure and having a very balanced upbringing. And so the fact that they are like raising their kids together and they're living together and they're in this big house, like a compound, and they just like living life, raising their families together. I think that that's amazing. It's beautiful. And it was one of those things that I wish was more normal for us in our society, because even when you think about raising a child, like when they talk about, it takes a village, it really should never just be the parents raising a child. Like a child should feel like they can look across the street, they can look to the left and the right, they can go to school, they got different people that they know in the community that care about them, that love them, that want to see them do well, because that's how we were like as Black people. And that's how we were. That's our culture. Our culture is to be communal and to be together. And so I love it. A lot of people are like, wow, like I can't imagine living with my sister, living with my family. But to me, like I don't know. Like it's just like it's what we do. So I wanted to call her out because she's amazing. What she's been doing is amazing. The moves she's making are amazing. But I particularly love this one because it just goes back to highlighting how she is with her family and the way that they're together, they build together. And so I feel like it's like the one of the keys to her success is that they really did do it as a unit, as a family unit. So yeah.
Yeah,
I
I won't
love
be
that.
doing that. Yeah, I won't be
Well,
doing
they
it.
say
I mean, the house would have to,
the nuclear family was like invented like in the 50s or whatever, but multi-generational households are kind of like, not kind of, they're way better. So I'm glad that Kiki's tapped into that. And you too, Jada. I wish I'd have had that. Maybe that's something that I can create for my kids one day.
yeah, the
Yeah.
house would have to be gargantuan, or we could live on a homestead. Although my family is not large, so um, The first thing that came to mind was my space. So like I said, the house would either need to be gargantuan or it would need to be a homestead and everybody has their own house. Now that's very cool to
Mm-hmm.
me.
Yeah,
But the
we
way
actually
my
talked about that with my
ADHD is set
cousins.
up, like I'm like, oh my God. Because truthfully, now in my family, not my immediate family, but my great grandmother's side of the family, they all live on the same piece of land. So I've actually seen that. I grew up watching them, and you could literally go house to house to house to house to house to house to house, and it's all the same land. And I don't know if they still live like that. I would assume they did, but I have seen that, and I thought that was really cool. That if you needed something from your big mama, you just walk out the front door and go down, like literally walk like 10 feet to her house and get whatever you need and come back. I thought that was really cool. But I don't know if I could be in the same house with a lot of people. But I think that that is beautiful in terms of just the support and then sharing your lives. Now while it's given me an anxiety attack, but I think the value of sharing your life and really just getting to know each other. I think one of the challenges that happens as we get older, even for parents, you don't get to know your children if they live apart from you.
Mm.
You don't get to know their adult self because they may go to college and then they go away, then they start, and then the next thing you know, you've kind of got this stranger that you're related to. And so I think there are some really beautiful things. I think, and I also think that getting back to the village would be a blessing for our community. I was on a live
Yeah.
once and a young lady said that the village has become the villain. And I couldn't help but to agree because we've reached a point where nobody can tell us anything about our kid.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying being disrespectful, I'm not saying doing any of that, but there was a time where if you decided you were going to cut up, nobody was waiting to talk to your mom. They were gathering you on the spot and
Mm-hmm.
letting you know that was not okay. And then they'll notify your parents after. Again, I'm not talking about disrespect. I'm not talking about, assaulting somebody else's kid. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm saying that you would get corrected in the moment because the village knew that it had you, and it wasn't going to be a situation where somebody's coming back talking about, oh, why you told little Timmy? Because little Timmy was stealing and we needed to correct that behavior. Or they were
Right.
walking on the wrong side of the street, or they were about to get hit by a car. Whatever it was okay to correct in the moment. And I think if we get back to anything, like let's get back to that
Yeah.
because we need it. We need the village. We really, really need the village.
Yeah, we
So
do.
definitely call out for Keke Palmer. That was awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Well, listen, I think that's going to bring us to a close. We wrapped up another one. Just the three of us sending love to Rail and Shara. They'll be back with us next week. Remember to like and subscribe and comment and all the things and let us know if there's anything that you want us to talk about. But you know what we always tell you at the end of the day, make sure that you check the vibe and catch the vibe. And I think I did it backwards, but at the end of the day, make sure you watch the vibe. Bye.